First year we did 1 million, second year we did 7, 30, 75, and then sold it after like 6.5 years for 100 million.
And you'd never been more miserable.
Yeah.
Jake Kassan,
co-founder of Movement,
the brand that redefined modern watches
and built a multi-million-dollar empire.
renowned for their direct-to-consumer approach.
and mastery of influencer marketing.
Movement was sold for an insane $100 million in 2018.
You wake up and your bank account, it looks like a phone number. There's gratitude, you're grateful for what you did, your phone starts blowing up, but all the mental power that was going into this thing I was building now churned. I just overanalyzed everything, every person, my whole life, and yeah, it just put me into a pretty dark hole.
If you have a unique skill set, you know how to grow brands. Why wouldn't you go again?
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr Podcast with Nathan Chan.
So you recently just posted incredible YouTube video where you made $100 million from selling your business and you'd never been more miserable. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I started the company when I was 21, Movement. I sold it when I was 28, and I think I just didn't really think about what I would do, what I wanted to do, why I wanted kind of money to begin with. And when I sold it, I there was a moment in time where I had all these still meetings with just people on my calendar. And I realized I don't need to take these meetings anymore. Like, why am I taking these meetings? I just thought about my identity as a whole. And I honestly didn't know who I was, why, if I hung out with certain people because it was good for business, if I was taking certain meetings because it was good for business, if I liked the things I did, like reading material. I was reading entrepreneur books and growth books and e-commerce, but now I didn't have an e-commerce company. I didn't have a company at all. And this was like right after COVID. I think the loss of identity mixed with just me kind of being isolated, you just start to question everything, and you don't know who you are, and just every decision you overthink. And I think all the mental power that was going into this thing I was building now churned and just started overanalyzing every decision I made. And sometimes you just have to live things through to find more answers. And I think I just got stuck in this place where I just overanalyzed everything, every person, my whole life. And yeah, it just put me into a pretty dark hole.
Look, first of all, thank you for sharing and first of all, opening up, because I was saying to you before we started rolling, not enough people talk about this, that when you sell your company, it is a massive loss of identity. And I have an M&A friend where he said to me, like, Nathan, like 50% of the time, like people are miserable after they sell their company. And, we see through Instagram, all these highlight reels, and it's so easy to compare yourself to other people that most people looking from the outside would look at your journey and be like, wow, you sold it. You started this really cool watch brands, you've seen it grow, and then you had $100 million exit. People would be like, why wouldn't you be happy? Like, you never have to work a day again in your life. So talk me through, like, how did Movement start?
So yeah, Movement started as an idea because I was basically a dropout in college, and I had a roommate who was also very entrepreneurial. I had other businesses growing up that would get to 100,000 in sales and then kind of fail eventually. But so I was always entrepreneurial, always wanted to start something. I knew college and uni wasn't for me. So when I met my college roommate, we were both just like brainstorming different ideas. And at the time we were just thinking about things that resonated to us. And we were constantly scanning crowdfunding websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and finally realized that there was this gap in like kind of the fashion world where none of these brands we really resonated with deeply. At the time, Nike was like, it still is, but Nike was a brand that we really loved. And just because it evoked this emotional feeling within us. And so that was kind of Movement. There was no watch that we could afford that had this kind of emotional feel to be inspired, and the combination of like, let's build a brand with design and price that we really loved. that was for us, young men and women. And like, that was the idea. And because of our e-commerce experience prior, it just took off. The Indiegogo crowdfunding page did 300,000. Our first year we did $1 million. Second year we did 30. I think at our peak we did like 75. And then I think we sold it after like 6.5 years or something like that for 100 million. But yeah, that was kind of the concept.
And did you raise money?
No, I mean, fortunately, a couple small like competitions that we won, we would get $50,000, or I think his grandma loaned us 50 grand. But the crowdfunding was $300,000 from $5,000 of credit card, debt. We basically got the samples, got pictures, edited the video, marketed it, wrote everything, and then just sent it out. And we were just scrappy. It was just like early days before Instagram was really big, or YouTube was still kind of figuring itself out. And really Reddit is where we kind of like went and like sent it, and then the crowdfunding platform just kind of took over.
Did you ever think you wanted to sell the business? Did you start with that intention?
I think I always knew that I wanted to. I heard Tony Robbins say something about financial freedom. It's the first time I heard that word, or that term. And I always knew that, okay, like I want to find financial freedom. I didn't know how much money that meant, but in my mind it was millions of dollars. And as the business was growing and we were doing 40, 50, 60, 100 was kind of always that view, because we can kind of see it at the finish line. We actually went out to go raise money because we wanted to continue to scale the business, and we just needed outside capital to do that. And then kind of at the same time, we started talking to Movado, and who acquired us, and it just was kind of like right place, right time.
And how long did that deal take?
I can't remember exactly. I think we were talking to them for maybe 3 months, 4 months.
Yep.
It was like 4 months.
Yep.
Could have even been longer, but there's like this, it starts as like conversations, and then you go into exclusivity and you kind of start running from there. But I think the entire, from day one of having a conversation with them, it was like a 4-month period.
Yep. Got you for due diligence, all as a deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So take me back to the moment that the deal went through.
I didn't tell my parents until, so I've been talking to them for 4 months. Sorry. Been talking to them for 4 months. Didn't tell my parents until the week before, because in my head, it's not done until it's done. So I just didn't want to jinx it. I don't want anyone else to feel the excitement or what pressure, whatever it was. I didn't want to feel more pressure, excitement. I didn't want to get let down. So eventually it goes through, and the next day, you wake up and you kind of look at your phone, and your bank account, it looks like a phone number. And, you have this it's hard to explain. You have this moment where you're like, there's gratitude, you're grateful for what you did, you're proud, all these things, your phone starts blowing up, but you still have, you don't just stay in bed and just like look at your phone all day. You get up and it's like, well, what am I going to do today? And, at the time I was still working at Movement. So I went to the office. Like my routine was exactly the same, right? So you go to the office, gym, whatever. And then the next day, I think the best part was just hearing from people, who I knew throughout the journey or whatever. It was just like, that was like this, and maybe it's external validation, but it just felt good. The people who had seen the work put in, who I had crossed paths with across the world, just be able to like share a small moment with them, I guess, was like nice. And then, you fast forward a few months later, and I started to, I bought a condo, like a nice condo. I didn't need a house because, I'm single by myself. So I bought a condo, and then you spend money on the areas you want, but like, I don't know, your life doesn't change drastically, right? I was still working, so it was amazing, but I was still living the same life in many ways.
And so did you have an earnout, or it was an all cash deal, and like how did the transition take place? Yeah,
basically it was all cash deal. There were some incentives, but basically, I wanted to stick around because like we just sold them the business and I wanted to do right by them. They just changed my life. And also there was like still kind of, a mission that I wanted to see through. And there was incentives. So I kind of like kicked the can down the road, or I like moved the goalposts. I was like, all right, well, like I can't celebrate until we win this. So almost instantly, I kind of tried to convince myself that like there's more money on the table, there's more to do here. But then COVID hit, and I just realized that we weren't going to get those incentives, and I didn't even care about those incentives because like I had money in the bank. I wasn't, you know, I didn't need more. I didn't know what more money was going to give me at this point. And that's where like I started to become a little unhappy, and I started to realize like more money wasn't going to solve that. And I didn't know what would solve that. And that's where, yeah, things kind of started to come in.
So talk me through that. Like, so what happened next? So you eventually finished up at Movement. Did you start like, I know you invest in brands now, but yeah, like, did you look at starting another e-com brand, or what happened?
Yeah. So I turned 30 when I left, and, you know, at 30 years old, a lot of your friends or all your friends are working, doing this, doing that. The people that might be able to relate to you in terms of financial, you know, freedom or wealth are usually in their 60s. Maybe some athletes, but a lot of these people are just like, they're still involved. Like they love to work still, or they don't know what else to do, so they're still working on something. I kind of realized that I didn't want to work on an e-commerce brand anymore. I thought about other brands. There's just nothing that like I loved the creative part of Movement, and I think just accomplishing and being good at something. But now that I had like kind of done it to the degree of that Movement did it, I didn't want to just do it over again for the sake of trying to do it bigger. And yeah, so I just struggled with what it was that I wanted to do next, why I wanted to do something. I started investing in brands thinking, well, maybe I'll learn a little bit about this, or maybe I'll be able to mentor and help other people, which I realized, you know, some people I'd give money to, and I'd be involved in the more like the conversation around the highs and the lows rather than tactical, because I'd make introductions, but I don't want to come in and be tactical. I'm not an operator. Like that's not what I love to do. Sometimes I'd give more money, sometimes I'd give less. Didn't really change that feeling in my gut about I was kind of chasing this high of what it felt like running my business and just accomplishing things and building something and getting good at something. And I just couldn't find that anywhere else. And yeah, I kind of just started to casually invest, and I kind of just started like trying to enjoy life as much as I could. I ended up moving to San Diego. You know, I bought all the things that I thought I would want to buy, you know, and I traveled, and I played video games and smoked weed. Like I was just doing stuff that I was like, oh, I earned this, you know, like I can, like, I'm not just a bum. I'm like, I worked hard and I can do this. And it would mask some of that feeling, I think, for certain times, but there'd always be a moment where I'd just be inside at my, you know, my tower, I'd call it, because I'd be high in my condo. I'd be high up in the condo, and I just feel lonely, feel like there's more to life than just that. Like my peak story shouldn't end here, and the thought of it ending here just felt depressing.
You know, Tim Ferriss, I never forget, he talked about like it's so hard to build a company, then you sell it, and then when you're in a situation you invest in companies, that excitement, you can kind of get that through investing in companies, but you don't have to do the work. Did you feel that, or not really?
Not really, honestly. Not really. And I think it's just different frames of minds. Like I think understanding what drives you, what about, like I really had to think about what was my happiest days at Movement, and like what made me the happiest. And when I thought about that, I think there's kind of two parts. It was like working with people. So, you know, I think having this community around me that I was kind of like all these people starting their careers at Movement, and like Movement succeeded. So like they're all, you know, have accelerated their careers in many ways because of Movement. And also, you know, pretty much everyone made some amount of money with the exit as well. So just having that felt amazing. It's like these lifelong relationships. And I think life's all about relationships. I think getting better at something, like just being an expert at something, feels good. Just having this knowledge and learning. But I think the biggest thing, like the early days of Movement, thinking of this idea that, and the vision for where it could go, And then being on my computer, early days, even before like me and my business partner, like he lived in San Diego, I lived in Los Angeles at the time. And I would just be on my computer at my house, just like, just brainstorming, trying to be creative and think about how we're going to grow, how we're going to do this, like what's the messaging, marketing channels. And I think the creative part for me, like the creation of something, was really what I found. But again, some people love operations. Some people love investing. They're good with money. They're good with investing. Like, I think for me, I really realized that like it was the creation of something that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like when it comes to operations and all that kind of stuff, it's not my strength. I can do it, but it doesn't bring me energy.
Yeah, exactly. And when you have money is a good motivation. Money is a good motivating factor, but when you have it, you have to find what motivates you to be like that operator, or to do things that you don't want to do. And that's been one of the hardest things for me, is like, some people are motivated by money simply because of ego. And like, that just wasn't me. Like there wasn't more money there's nothing that I wanted. And again, I knew that money wasn't going to make me happier. I still like the game of money. I still like, thinking about certain things in my life and gamifying them, but I'm not going to sacrifice certain things in my life, my health or relationships, just for money anymore. And that's where I realized I have to find something that motivates me just intrinsically, that I would love to get better at, I love to do. If money wasn't involved, I want to do it. Still incorporate money, but just need to find something at a base that I can really love.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. Now, the truth is, all successful e-commerce founders started from zero, with a spark of an idea and a whole lot of determination. But let's be real, building or growing an e-commerce business is no walk in the park. And that's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. It's a culmination of a decade worth of work at Foundr. So if you're feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, you're lacking confidence to move forward, or you're worried about making costly mistakes or not knowing how to grow your business, Foundr Plus is here to support you on your journey. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, incredible programs, a supportive community, weekly live mentorship, exclusive savings on startup tools, and 24/7 real human support. Try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back in the show. For you, when you started Movement at the start, did it like, or even throughout that journey, it was obviously there's hard times, businesses are tough, but the calling for you was the creation and the building.
Yeah, I think the calling at the time was money. Like, I think I think for whatever reason at an early age, I was just motivated by trying to make money, and not that I had like grand tastes. I just like wanted the financial freedom. I wanted to help out my family. I wanted to take care of the people around me. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted when I wanted. In some ways, and I've heard other entrepreneurs say this, but like I can be very, very lazy. And I think money was like an opportunity to I can do things on my time, right? I can pick and choose and say yes to things and say no to things, and not let money run my life. And I think there's good and bad in that, as I've come to realize, but I think money was a big motivating factor. What I found that I enjoyed though, and the reason because there's lots of ways to make money. The reason I liked creating these businesses was the creation process. The idea of like all my businesses that I've had, I've sold like t-shirts, I've sold obviously watches, sunglasses, I've sold a bunch of other products, and I've always seen them on other people walking around in like random places. And that's always been a really great feeling to be like, I created this from nothing. And then I've kind of seen it transform into the real world.
Most would kind of go, you have a unique skill set, you know how to grow brands. Why wouldn't you go again?
I just couldn't think of a product that meant enough to me to like build it. And for this, and I think I enjoy the beginning, first couple of years, but I don't know. I don't enjoy the operations. I'm a people pleaser. I'm not good with confrontation. I'm an introvert. So dealing with the shit of managing people and headaches and just, I was like a nice boss. I was like a very like I think everyone liked me. I was friendly, which isn't necessarily a strength. It can be good, but also I think you need to be tough. You have to have tough conversations, and I'm not good at tough conversations. I've gotten better, but it's just not something I enjoy. I did it, and I'm proud that I did certain things, but yeah, so there just wasn't any idea, there just wasn't any idea. I like clothing. I thought about different clothing brands, but I'm just like, do I really want to go and create a brand that does, I don't know, 5 to 10 million, and but do I really want to do that? Like operating that brand. The idea of like creating my own product sounds fun, but like, do I really want to like have a business deal with inventory and go fly to manufacture? Like, no, I think, there's brands that do that well. And I like the brands that are out there and they want to do it more than I do for whatever reasons. Like they're driven, maybe because they intrinsically love it or they're chasing money or whatever. But for me, it was like, well, what is it? I remember when I sold too, I like looked at this big list of hobbies because I always said I have no hobbies. Like, I watched like TV and movies. I worked. I listened to, podcasts, books, and then I hung out with friends. Like that was kind of it. So when I sold, I looked at a list of hobbies. I tried golf. I tried guitar, and I just kind of went through different hobbies. And like, there was a few that stood out when I was a kid that I was like, okay, I did this when I was a kid. Let me try that. But yeah, starting another business just didn't scratch that itch.
Didn't excite you?
No, and again, I'm not going to say never. The thing is, it's funny. When I sold my business, I told people, I was like, I'm never going to start anything again. Like I was like, I'm telling you, I'm like a lazy person at heart. Like I don't want to do this again. And I had done it 3 times. Like I had my other business I had for 5 years. Like I started it when I was 17, and at its peak, it did 250 grand. Like, and I had a retail store like at 20. Like I was doing stuff like before this. So commerce just wasn't something that I wanted to do. Also a lot of the people in commerce, like they loved it. And like, I just felt like I wasn't connecting with the joy of creating another business. Like these people were, they wanted to like take over. And I just didn't feel that desire anymore. So yeah, I just wasn't there.
Yeah. And look, I think and I've seen this in friends as well that have sold their business, when you've done the hard yards, you don't really want to go back to that grind, right? And it almost, for some people, they love it, but for others, it's like, well, that was tough. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, I've listened to Alex Ramosi and like Chris Williamson talk about this, but Alex articulated it well where, he loves the game of just building a business. Like that's his game that he wants to play. And I respect that. Like if that's what you love, that's what you get energy from, like then you're going to be the best at that. You'll sacrifice, time and energy elsewhere to do that thing. And some people create new businesses because they do love running them. I think I've also met founders who have exited, who are, as you mentioned, like I have founders who have exited that are completely lost. I have founders who have exited who go and just start another, company with just a different name or slightly different category. And I think they do it not because they necessarily want to, but just because they don't know what else to do. Like they literally don't know what else to do. And it's painful to go and like shed this identity that you have one world that's propping you up. I mean, like e-commerce world, entrepreneur world, like I could have kept building my name. I could have, done more podcasts. I could have wrote a book. Like there's a lot of stuff that I could have just done to like become this personality. And it just wasn't it wasn't true to me. Like it's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be this expert in that world. I still love it. I still do. There's still a love for it. Like, and I like helping people. But for me, I just knew that there was something, it just wasn't that burning feeling kind of inside that you have, that I had early days, right? Probably when you first had that $5 sale and and maybe what you have now, it's just like, when that's gone, you can't force it. Just it and some people chase the next big, okay, we did 100, let's go for 200 million. But like, I knew money was not going to make me happier. And I didn't want more I didn't want to like rub shoulders with people just for the sake of like, oh, I'm wealthy, or oh, I'm powerful, or, you know, successful. So I wanted to find something that I just wanted to do at my time, my pace, that I loved.
I'm sure after you launched that video where you got 500,000 views around you sold your company for $100 million and you felt really lost and all these different things, a lot of people would say, maybe even watching this, well, it's easy for you to kind of say, okay, well, I just want to do what makes me happy. A lot, like some people just don't have that choice, and you've earned that privilege to find out what's next. What would you say to people?
Yeah, I guess I think that you have to go through that process. So I think, you know, you have to go through a point where you I think you have to work towards money, right? It's hard, or work towards something that you really are you think you can be good at. Like, you have to have some interest. I had interest in e-commerce. It's not like I was doing something that I hated. I just realized at some point that like I wanted that more of this wasn't gonna give me more happiness. So I think that's like, yeah, I think that's kind of where I sit, is I was working towards money, but I also enjoyed the experience that I was going through. And then at some point, you know, I just realized that, okay, I do want to start something else outside of this. And I know it's going to take time, but yeah, I did have money. Also at like 30, I'm 33 now, but it's like, you know, if I was back in my 20s, like I was willing, I went into $5,000 of debt to start the company. Like, you know, had I wanted to do something else, I would have gone into debt, taken a second job to like fund whatever it was that I wanted to do. Like, I think money has to be some motivating factor. I mean, it's just, especially in the States, like you need money to survive everywhere in the world. But like, you know, so money is just like, it is a necessary evil. And I think you have to focus on it. But if you only focus on money and you are miserable with what you're doing, like more money is not going to make you less miserable. It could give you the time to then dedicate elsewhere. I have a friend who has an agency that, again, he enjoys to some degree, but it gives him a lot of time to focus on other things. And I think that's another example of just, yeah, money can give you time. So I don't know. It's like you need money to play the game. So still focus on money, but just understand that more money is not going to make you the happiest person, especially if you're already unhappy. If you're happy and you're making money, then great. It'll probably make you happier. But the more money you make, you alienate yourself from other people. Less people can relate. You kind of change relationships, potentially with family, friends. Like it's just, the world kind of feels and looks different at times.
Did you work out who your true friends are?
Yeah, I think like I had a lot of friends that, I just had a lot of friends at the time. A lot of friends because of the business, connected to the business, employees, this, that. I think I'd still call them all friends, right? I don't think I had any like falling outs, but I just think that I just didn't want to talk about the company anymore. I didn't want to talk about the past. You know, it was like winning a sports championship and like talking about it for the next decade. It's like, that thing doesn't define me, right? It's a big important moment in my life, but I'm more than just my business, than the sale. And I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. I just knew I didn't want to talk about this. And that was the hard part. It was like, I was saying yes to anyone who would hang out to learn more about myself, and trying to connect with people and moving to new cities and trying new things, which I think is important. I think that's like a big thing of it, is just you have to try new things. You know, you have to like experiment to learn more about yourself.
So what would you say to founders that are in the early stages of their journey to make sure that your identity doesn't get so trapped in the success of your business, or not the success of your business, because it is such an all-encompassing thing?
I think to some degree you're gonna have to go through it. You know, I think you're gonna have to I think everyone's gonna focus on. I can tell you whatever I want to tell you, but like your eyes are gonna be on the, you know, mission critical, and that's building the business, selling the business, getting to a certain revenue. Like that's the dreamers who are just wanting to like accomplish their, you know, kind of goal that they have for themselves. But I think that if I could go back in time, the only thing that I would really have done differently was just try and figure out ways to invest in myself outside of the business. And I think like the health and fitness stuff, like I was drinking a lot too, just not like not a lot by any means, but just like a lot for me, right? Like I'd go out on weekends, or if I would dinners, like business dinners, like I was just wasn't treating my body as well as I treat it now. And I think had I focused more on health, had I invested in certain relationships, I just think those things would have like helped keep me a little bit more balanced. And just think about this. I think also like being self-aware about how like we think and associate identity or money or what our values are in life. Like I think that just helps the transition. So a lot of founders that I have who are trying to like getting ready to sell or hoping to sell, just my story, I see them like thinking about this stuff earlier, you know, like before they sell, they're already thinking about like, fuck, well, what would I do if I sold today? Where would I live? Like, why am I happy with my life right now? Is there anything that like, is money limiting me right now from being happy? Or is it just like, I could go on a walk today. I could go to the gym. I can go to a concert. Like, you know, like a lot of people have the money to do a lot of the things that make them happy day to day. Again, fulfillment, it comes from building something and also understanding what about the business fulfills you. I think just thinking about these things is the only thing that I can really say, because it's hard for me on this side of you know, the sale to be like, oh, like this is how you do it. These are just things I didn't know, and now that I think about, and yeah, I wouldn't take away the way that I learned them, but it would have helped me a lot, you know, avoid some, you know, mental pain over the last 5-6 years.
Hey guys, have you ever thought, what if I could just work with somebody one-on-one that's already done it to help me start or grow my e-commerce brand? Well, we get asked this question all the time. We have an amazing network of founders, super successful founders at Foundr. So we launched this coaching and mentorship program. So if you want to start your e-commerce business and work with us one-on-one to help you launch it fast, then go to foundr.com/start mentorship to see if you qualify. Or if you want to grow your e-commerce brand even faster and work with our experienced coaches and mentors one-on-one, then go to foundr.com/grow mentorship. All right, now let's jump back into the show. I think a big lie that we often tell ourselves is if we hit this revenue target, or if we hit this goal, then I'll feel this, or when we hit this, it'll be amazing. Was this something that resonates with you?
Yeah. I mean, you always move the goalpost, right? And yeah, I mean, I didn't know, similar to how you built this, I knew that, okay, we can start a watch brands. Watch brands are $100 million businesses, but you know, we did 300 grand, then we did $1 million. I was stoked. Then 7, then 30, and then every year we'd be like, then you start forecasting. So the first few years were great because there was no forecasting. It was just like, let's just do as much as we can. Then you start forecasting, and if you don't hit a number, now you're not on plan. And that's when you're like, well, we're below plan, and that's when things start to feel like, well, we're not growing as fast as we should or we can. And then you sell the company, and then you think about, well, this is where the company's still growing. Can we turn into a $200, $300 million business, $1 billion business? And then you leave the company, and it's like, yeah, do I need to, in order to be fulfilled again, do I need to create something that's successful? And is that where the story kind of ends? Which is such a weird thing, I think, for, I don't know, maybe it's narcissistic, but it's like, I do think about myself. Joe Rogan talks about this, like, think about yourself as like you're the main character in a movie. And I just try and like, I get excited just about my, you know, I want to make myself proud. I want to make my younger self proud, my, you know, future kids proud. I think about, I like to do things that scare me, or that I think I can't do at one point, and then it kind of becomes this goal that I you know, latch onto. So I don't know. It was a weird thought to be like, I'm not gonna find something that I can like dive into the same way and feel as fulfilled with, that scares me the same way as when starting the company did. I mean, I used to look at entrepreneurs when I was starting that company and see what kind of personality traits. Because again, I'm an introvert, people pleaser. The entrepreneurs I knew were A-type, you know, like dominant in terms of like the presence in the room. Like, you know, they were definitely intimidating people, and they were not what I didn't see myself as like this figure on, you know, especially watching Shark Tank or this and that, like, you know, so yeah, it was used to be scared to pick up the phone and call a buyer at a retail store when we first started the company, or get on meetings with people. Like, everything scared me. So, succeeding and then also just getting more confident in all my abilities was like the best feeling. Just getting good at something, proving to yourself that you can accomplish and conquer kind of these limits that you thought, that you used to think kind of were set for yourself. And again, selling the business, it was like, well, where do I go now? And that was that. I think that's where, like, yeah, you were so fulfilled, and just losing that kind of just messed me up a bit.
You've really, you really touched me with your video. That's why I reached out, and it just so happened that you were in Australia. You're based in Australia, in Sydney. You've flown down to Melbourne to do this interview. So thank you for taking the time to share, give back to our community. So you talked about kind of finding your next thing, and kind of really delving into going back to like what made you happy. So what is that now, and how did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that I went back and thought about what I enjoyed when I was a kid. And again, I watched a lot of movies, TV, but I also like somehow stumbled into video editing. I was doing bar mitzvah video edits for friends and stuff like that. And then in school I did some video editing, but I just, at the time, YouTube was still like hardly around. I just didn't see a path to, like, YouTube wasn't a path at the time, So when I looked at that list of hobbies, like in video production, editing was one of them. I was like, well, what if I just, buy a drone or a camera and just start like, every day, every week, just filming stuff, just trying and do it for a month. And it didn't look like this. It was like up and down. And, I'd get one good shot finally, because the beginning sucks. The learning curve in anything that's complex is like, the beginning is usually you're bad at it. But I also understand that concept of just like show up to this. Like, if I want to find my love, I was looking around for something I loved, and there was nothing. I had no hobbies. So I knew that I had to like really just find something that at one point I enjoyed. I think I will enjoy being bad at this thing if I just don't burn out from it, and just show up for as long as I can, really. And I just started showing up as much as I could. Sometimes I'd go weeks without touching the camera, but I'd always come back to it. I tried to be disciplined, and eventually I just started to enjoy bits and pieces of it. And yeah, I just got better and better and better. And now I'm at a point now where I'm like, I'm still really bad at it, but like, I got a YouTube channel that has subscribers now, and I have a video that touched a lot of people, and I'm enjoying this process of it. And I'm still just showing up. Like, even now I'm just like, it's every day I put in hours. I treat it like work. I treat it like, again, I have the flexibility to not necessarily have a 9 to 5 per se, but like, I try and put in, 4 good hours a day of just something that involves either like learning, editing, filming, something in that world. And then the end product, I really enjoy when I put out a video, or I share the art, and I create this thing that people watch or comment on, and it touches, someone or relates to someone. So kind of comes full circle in terms of like, a physical product. But again, I think that for entrepreneurs, it's like, it's not always, it's something that you can be good at is like more important than something that you just love. Because even this, it's like, do I love every piece of it? Like, I don't love every piece of it. I didn't love every piece of running a company, but if I can be good at creating companies, and like, I would continue to do that if I needed money. Like, if I just needed money, I would probably have just jumped into like skill sets of maybe either creating my own company, creating an agency for people. Like, I'm focusing on building a skill set that has equity and is worth something. So, now I'm in a place where like, I do have time because I have money, and I'm just focusing that energy into building a skill set in this video world, which there will be money in. The learning curve is tough. Like, if I needed money right now, my YouTube videos would probably look very different. They'd be quick, fast. But, I mean, yeah, the last video was on track for 1 million views. It ended at like 500,000 because it got flagged for some things. But like, I could have made money on, like I could make money on my channel right now if I wanted. And, that essentially was like 2.5, 3 years. Granted, I have the story to tell, but like, I see a lot of people on YouTube who, have 300,000-400,000 followers from a few years of just like working on it. So it's tough. Like, I think it's a saturated market, but I think if you can kind of figure out your story, like you can win there. But yeah.
Yeah, look, the creative movement is massive. I'm even starting nowadays to really start to go deep on my personal brand and create, and it's really fun. Like it reminds me, like, so I've made a commitment to myself this year that I'm like a daily non-negotiable as I post every single day. And I started with 90 days. I'm about like, I think 60 days into that 90 days, and I posted every single day. And when I started, I was like, geez, I should have been doing this a long time ago. But it felt like old days Foundr. Yeah. And that's how it feels for you, right? Like, does it feel like old days movement?
Yeah, for sure. You're bad at something again. You're scared about certain elements, like how you're perceived, or, you know, there's so much to it. And also how much time and energy it takes to get to that final, like, part of it. I think for me, what I love is like 90% of the work that I do, the thing I'm working on doesn't look good, right? Like you're trying to like edit it, you're trying to color it, you're trying to build this thing. And then the last 10%, it's like, oh, it finally looks good, but you're still nervous about posting, and then you post it, and then you get that. There is this external validation from it, but I think it's like, especially when the content's meaningful or you worked hard on it, it's art at the end of the day. And I think art is supposed to be seen, and even in physical products, right? Like there's just different elements to creation again, and that's the part of like this of business and everything that I love the most. Like, you know, some people just love crunching numbers, and that's great, but like for me, understanding that this is what I love has just been really special. But I think being scared, a lot of this has been me being terrified to, I have this brand of movement, right? Just my personal brand that's tied to it, and the expectations of what I put out, even if it's just internal, it could just be my own. It's like no one else probably cares, but my own expectations of like the story, how people are going to perceive me talking about mental health stuff and money. Am I going to be, you know, like you kind of ask the question, like, what about the people who kind of say it's easy for you to say you have money? And it's a question that like, I don't know entirely how to answer. I'm just sharing. I'm not telling anyone else how to live. I'm just sharing my experience for what I went through. And if there's someone who's on that same trajectory, or even not gonna, a lot of people who don't ever get to the exit don't sell the company. So I hope that just my story is helpful to other people. And I think that the people I'm creating for is, again, it's my younger self. It's, you know, the younger generation. I think it's just my lessons in my life. And that's what the whole channel is. It's whether it's business or my life, it's just lessons that I've learned and kind of have taken away from my experiences that I'm just sharing. Like, take it or don't, I don't care, but it's just my art, what I'm sharing at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's what entrepreneurship is. It's like entrepreneurs are modern day artists.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
We get a blank canvas and we're able to paint, right? And that's how I see business and entrepreneurship, and that whole, you know, Alex Hormozi referred to as the game, but that, there's ups, there's downs, but yeah, it's art. Like that's how I see it. So we have to work towards wrapping up, man. We could talk about this all day, but I have a few questions just around, I guess, lifestyle. Something I think about because I'm in the thick of it, running Foundr day to day, all those kinds of things. Like, how does it feel to be able to wake up and not have an alarm and not worry about what day it is, not have anything on your calendar? You don't have to be anywhere, and you don't really have a care in the world.
There's good and there's bad. Some days it feels great. Some days you feel lonely as ever. You know, I think if you had your life, that's why I say like investing in life outside of business. If you had relationships, you had, you know, wife or kids, or just other things that were other responsibilities that were pulling you down. If you have no responsibilities, then you wake up after being so driven and fulfilled to the things that you were doing, and then you come to a place where you're just trying to kill time all day, which kind of,
you're bored.
You get bored, but it just eats at you. From some people are, and they're usually not entrepreneurs. Some people who just can live on the beach all day, like they're living on the beach without any money and just barely making by because they can live that lifestyle. But entrepreneurs have been driven and are fulfilled by what they're doing to then be in a position to lay on the beach all day. Like, they don't, that's not the way their brain works. You know, like, again, it goes from thinking, your brain is going outward to then inward, and it just starts to eat away at like, that the happiness or the fulfillment. And you can really get in this spot where you just feel like you don't know how to get out. You don't see a way to get out of it. And I think, so there's days where it's like, I love my sleep and I sleep like 8-9 hours, no problem. So it's like, I do love the fact that like I can wake up, but at the same time, like I feel like a piece of shit if I wake up at 10. Like, you know, I want to still get up, you know, 7:38 and still, you know, win the day. And I actually like kind of create a schedule now for myself. Again, I know that I'm going to spend 4 hours or so doing stuff with the video stuff, but for the last 5 years before kind of really getting into this, having no schedule, although it was good at times, like it really probably was a net negative. And like for my mental health, and this is just my personal experience, I feel like some people with money maybe can just go, but also some people, yeah, they're like, they spiral into different, you know, areas. They're chasing like, you know, drugs or, you know, certain like vices that like don't take them to a good place either. For me, it was like, it was just my mental health that started to erode. So it's good and bad. Depends on how you look at it. It depends on what day it is.
Yeah. Well, look, dude, we have to work towards wrapping up, but I just wanted to share, thank you for just such openness, honesty around really the dark side of entrepreneurship, right? In many ways, like it is a sport in many ways that is often glamorized. And it's easy to compare yourself to all the crap that is online. And don't get me wrong, the highs are high, but the lows are low. But building a business is incredibly tough, and it's an incredibly fulfilling thing as well. But you know, you've shared your story on, you know, you've had a successful exit, and it hasn't been what others might be perceive it to be, but you're on your path, you're working it out. But thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so if you love this episode, make sure to check out my interview with Alex Hormozi on how he scales companies from zero straight to $2 million a month in less than a year.
People were like, how have you achieved what you achieved? But like, there's 5 years of my life that disappeared. In fact, I lost all the money, which I talk about in the book. I had all the gyms, I did the turnarounds, and then I had $0 5 years later because of mistakes that I made. But the things that I was gaining was not the money, it was the skills, it was the character traits and the beliefs.